Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostle of the millstone, and then our respect to the brothers out there pushing and spreading the gospel of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai to the four of the world. Now, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, I just wanted to do a quick lesson. I'm actually not going to speak a lot. I'm just going to allow, these clips to speak for themselves, and Lord willing, this be edifying. Now, this video is inspired by, I think, a conversation that I had with brothers on the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And, there's something very interesting that they brought up that, I've always thought of it as, I've always thought of it from a different perspective. And that is verse verse 38. Well, verse 11, it says, "And thou shalt go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest." Right? Them that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. And this is, of course, about Russia, okay? Gog and Magog, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togmar, right? And all his bands and many people with them, they shall be prepared, right? And after many days, thou shalt be visited, and thou shalt come to the land that is brought back from the sword, which is the land of Israel. They will go up to the mountains of Israel, right? The battle of Armageddon. That's what's being described in the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. I don't want to go a little bit too much on it. I don't want to make this a breakdown video, but in a sense, Russia will come up against the land of Israel. And then it says, "And thou shalt go up to the land of unwalled villages, and them that dwell at rest." And this is talking about Babylon, right? Because as we have seen, the relationship between Amalek and America is like, it's an unbreakable bond. And so Russia, when Amalek does something that draws the nations out to war, will say, "Eff it, we have no choice but to come up against Babylon also." And this is why this is going to be a nuclear world war, because a war that could have, been fought with supposedly a small casualty, which is a nation coming up against Amalek, is now escalated to a world war between two superpowers, right? And so it says to take a spoil and to take a prey and to turn thine head upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. Now it's talking about the land of Israel, and upon the people that are gathered out of many nations. Still the land of Israel, right? You have this land in here that has, you have actual Israelites in there. You have, Amalek in there. You have Edomites, okay, in there. You have Ishmaelites, okay. You have, Elamites, Persians. You have all these people, Hamites. Get all these people mingled in that area, right? Which have gotten cattle and good, and dwell in the midst of the land. And this is the part that I wanted to emphasize, that dwell in the midst of the land. Now, immediately, if you were thinking like me, you would say, well, the midst of the land simply means, how the Lord said that he was going to put us in the midst of the heathens, and that he was going to have the nations around about us to test us, to see if we will follow him or listen to him. And then in the midst of land, in the sense that how that area is literally the center of the world. That's why it's called the Middle East. It's in the east in relation to the people in the west, but it's literally in the middle of the world, in the center of the world, right? And also missed in the sense of what, like, there's another example. There's another there's another word for that, which means lofty, or in a sense high, which we know that Jerusalem is on an elevated, right? It's on a mountain. In other words, on an elevated, platform. And so it says highest part, right? Missed Naval Center. And what's interesting here is when you go into the lexicon, there is a sense here to be considered more lofty than other countries. And the word lofty means pride, right? High minded. And which is why when you read other precepts, other translations, I believe the GNT or the NLT, right, the NLT, which says they think the whole world revolves around them. They think the whole world revolves around them. And so what I'm going to be doing in this video is just show a little bit of examples as to how, perfectly, Amalek has embodied this character that we read in the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, right? Right, this land of Israel, and it's a land that has been brought back from the war, right? It's not like its neighboring nations where they have been made desolate, right? It's actually, secured, right? You've had, they had these these armed forces that are much more powerful. As a matter of fact, it's considered the nuclear, or at least the superpower of the Middle East. Okay, it is brought back from its low estate that it used to be when it was first established. So that, coupled with them thinking the world revolves around them, and that's what I want to emphasize. They think the world revolves around them. So what I have here is, all right, let's see. What are the series of events that led to Israel's defamation, right? And so it says the deterioration of Israel's international reputation between 2023 and 2026 is driven by a series of escalating military, legal, and political events that have shifted global perception from sympathy to widespread condemnation, which is the Gaza conflict toll, where they have it says it has resulted in over 67,000 deaths and civilian deaths in Gaza. It says the targeting of infrastructure, high-profile incidents such as the March 2025 attack on humanitarian vehicles and ambulances in Rafah, right, fueled international outrage. Humanitarian restrictions. Israel faced persistent accusations of using famine as a weapon and obstructing vital aid. In the late 2025, Israel raided the UNRWA's East Jerusalem compound, replacing the UN flag with an Israeli one, which many nations viewed as a violation of UN diplomatic immunity. Okay, the South Africa's 2024 case at the International Court of Justice led to a preliminary hearing ruling that claims of genocides were plausible, which ordering Israel to prevent such acts. Of course, they didn't. Why? Because they think the world revolves around them. They think the world revolves around them. Unlawful occupation ruling, which I made a video about it not long ago, but the ICJ issued a landmark advisory opinion declaring Israel's presence in the West Bank and East Jerusalem illegal, calling for an end to the occupation. Recently, I believe yesterday or on Sunday, they basically came out and said, yo, we don't give a damn. We're going to go out. We're here to stay. We ain't going nowhere. So they came up and they said that. And the International Criminal Court prosecutors' application for arrest warrants against top Israeli leaders further institutionalized the view of Israel as a potential violator of international law, right? Now, this already, the response that I'm getting from AI sounds a little biased because, they keep making it seem as though it's not what it is. And I keep getting words like as a potential and, they don't want to be explicit, right? This is what they are. There's no dancing around it. But I've also made a lot of videos about AI's response to Amalek always being a little censored, right? As opposed to if you had asked about other nations, it'll be quick to give you a response and giving you a black and white response as to this country being evil or not. But when it comes to Amalek, they always want to use words like plausible or potential, possibly, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the people right now. When you read the book of Ezekiel, it says that they think the world revolves around them. This is from the perspective of Gog and Magog with the company that are assembled onto them. So there are many people with them. Remember, okay? All his bands and many people with thee. They come up thinking these things. They come up against a country, a people that think, right, that the world evolves around them. So I'm going to play some videos, and I'm just going to allow you to listen to him and, get the gist of it.
Am Israel Chai V'Kayam. We're going to stay here, and we're going to stay here.
That's fine.
This is our country, and
yeah.
Israel is our country. We actually belong here, and if you have a problem with that, then I don't know what to tell you, bro.
You know what's interesting? Here's the difference.
Palestine doesn't exist. It never did.
Actually, it's in the Balfour.
Palestina. Palestine never existed.
Okay. Okay, here's the thing. Actually, that's wrong. It was mentioned in the Balfour Declaration in 1917. It does exist. And
okay, who's the president of Palestine? Who's the prime minister of Palestine?
So, I'm just going to go back a little bit. I don't know. I'm just going to let the place like it for the disturbance.
Number one, it's Abbas. That's why they're going to recognize them, and you guys are losing your mind. And then number two.
Listen,
Number two. First, you said it doesn't exist.
You see, the fact that they're stepping on the Israel flag here, it just shows you what we're dealing with. Okay.
Now,
the flags are very small too.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you this. So let me give you my position on this. Despite what people might say, right? Despite what people say, I actually think that we need to broker some type of peace. I don't want Israelis to die. I really don't, actually. I condemn people.
I don't believe you.
100%. I've been talking on my show.
I don't know why you're wasting your time here trying to prove a point.
You're not even listening.
When you don't actually know what you're talking about.
You're not even listening.
I'm listening.
See, I'm exercising a little bit of compassion that you guys don't exercise for the Palestinians.
So you see why I chose this video. I'm not sure if I don't think that every single Israeli in that land is thinking like he is, right? But he definitely has the mindset of a lot of people on social media who step up and they try to justify wickedness because they don't think it's wickedness. Everybody else in the world will recognize a state, but they don't recognize it, so then it doesn't exist. Then that means they have the power to, they're just going to take it upon themselves and just, occupy it and invade it and take lands for themselves. So yeah, they think the world revolves around them.
When those hostages were kidnapped, okay, and I saw people ripping posters off, I said, don't fucking do that. Because there's children and there's innocent people that got kidnapped that have nothing to do with anything. And here's the thing. This is my problem with the Israeli government and a lot of Israelis. Not all, but a lot of them. I'm able to exercise compassion for you guys, but you guys don't exercise compassion for the Palestinians. You guys think Israeli life is worth more than Palestinian life. You guys think that these people are cattle. You guys systematically bomb and kill them. I exercise compassion towards Israelis all the time. People never clip it though, but I actually don't want you guys to die or lose your state. I am for either a two-state solution or a one-state solution where all parties are able to have some level of sovereignty and live in liberty.
You're talking a lot, but you're not letting me say one word.
But the problem is that Netanyahu, your prime minister, doesn't want that. He's done everything in his power to sabotage the Oslo Accords, destroy every peace agreement, and he's been actively doing this for decades, to include propping up Hamas and giving them money so that he can have controlled opposition to stay in power.
Wait, let me ask you one question, because you're talking a lot. Do you
It's my podcast.
actually want a Sharia law here in America? Do you want that? Because that's what's happening in New York, and that's what's happening in Gaza. And if you're gay in Gaza, you're getting thrown off a building. If you're a woman that doesn't cover the hair, you're getting killed. So if you want that as a country for them, if you actually want them to feel like they're in a free country, it will never happen in Gaza.
What?
So this is why, hearing him speak, this is why the scripture says that pride is hated both of God and men, and that's why, they say they are the true children of the Most High, but really they don't act like it. They don't sound like it. They don't think like it. Okay, they ain't even trying, at all. They say this is the kingdom of heaven. They say this is the kingdom of Israel that's been prophesied of, but it doesn't sound like it, because here it is. He's talking about wickedness being, the way to go. So the Most High ain't down with them, and the sons of men ain't down with them. That's why the scripture says that when they are destroyed, none hindereth.
Here's the thing. I think that we shouldn't be intervening in other people's political affairs and let them dictate their government the way that they want. We don't have to come in and be the world's police and intervene in every single conflict and destabilize countries because we want democracy. We tried it with Iraq and it failed.
Wait, let me ask you a question. Why are you not standing up for what's happening in Ukraine, in Syria, in China, where thousands of Arabs are dying every day? Why, when it's up to Israel, you're so against it? It sounds like anti-Semite to me.
So clearly you weren't listening earlier. I said that I've been condemning the Gulf states for months about their lack of support to the Arab nations. I've been very critical of Qatar, of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, etc. Now, you said you watched my content, but it doesn't seem like you do, because everything that you're saying is actually not true, with whether it's, oh, you hate Israelis, you want them to die. No, I actually don't think it's a good idea to stop on a flag. I think we need to find a way to bring both people together. Now,
what are you doing here besides hate?
You guys,
it sounds like hate.
Okay, so now he made a statement. Let's get to this part.
Okay.
First of all, you don't know what's happening right now in Syria. You don't seem like you're mad about that or about what's happening in Russia or Ukraine. You're mad about Palestine. Why are you so pinpoint on that?
You just said you don't condemn genocide.
I do.
Oh, you do now?
No, I do not.
Actually, let's go back to where he says that.
Right?
Sure.
It's just like any government, they need to have an army that's protecting their people. Right?
For sure.
You agree with that?
For sure.
Okay. So why, if someone is going in people and kidnapping, we're just going to sit there and let that happen?
Again, I just said a second ago.
I'm not condemning genocide, okay?
You're not condemning it?
No.
Okay.
First of all, you don't know what's happening right now in Syria. You don't seem like you're mad about that or about what's happening.
You don't condemn genocide. Wow. I think that speaks volumes in itself.
That's right. All right, now let's get to the other point. I don't want to make this video too long. I've already made these posts. I just want to highlight a few things.
Possibility of an agreement. Now, let's look around the world and so on. Let's look around the world and see, You see, those who are criticizing Iran, those who think that Iran is a power state and so on, they must look at themselves first. My brother, listen, these countries which are lining up behind Israel, these are the same countries who went into the Congo, staged a coup d'etat, arrested the democratically elected president of the Congo, Patrice Lumumba, killed him. And 2 weeks ago, the intelligence officer who led that operation confessed that he cut Patrice Lumumba's body into 34 parts, removed his front teeth as a souvenir, and dissolved his body. The body of the democratically elected prime minister of the Congo was dissolved in acid. What moral authority can they have? What moral authority can they have? Huh? These countries which are lining up behind, Israel, the United States of America. The United States of America is the only country in the world which has used a nuclear bomb. It used it twice, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. The people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki continue to suffer the consequences of that recklessness. Has Iran ever used a nuclear bomb? Or even just an ordinary dirty bomb? The US has used it twice in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Where is the moral authority of the US today to be pontificating to us and so on? Where is the moral authority?
Right, and if you, I believe if you actually go into the history, you'll find out that, before they even dropped the bomb, Japan had even hinted, which really, they needed the ass whoop. They were going off, but like they had even hinted that they were gonna surrender. Okay, it was everybody knew they were gonna surrender, but they didn't care. They had this new weapon, and they wanted to test it. They wanted to show their might. That's why the scripture says that blood is nothing in their eyes. But while wickedness, everyone on earth is guilty of that wickedness. It is their twisted, ideals that really baffles the entire world. See, they will declare everyone a wicked person, but if you declare them a wicked person, then they have a problem with you. They'll say that you are an anti-S. They'll say you're an anti-S, but then they'll come around and say they don't condemn genocide, right? Let me see what he says about that. I think he says anti-human.
I think that speaks volumes in itself. He does not condemn genocide. He wants people to die, and he doesn't care, and that's
this
fine.
platform is actually anti-Semite. So
See? They just be pulling that word out their ass. You call them on their bullshit, and they just use that word. They think the world evolves around them, right? Let me pull it up. They think the world evolves around them. Yep. They think the whole world evolves around them. Yep.
over it.
Bro,
So
you're anti-human.
Go ahead.
You're
Continue
anti-human.
fighting.
You are anti-human.
Okay.
You literally are saying, I don't condemn genocide. You are okay with innocent people dying. That's incredible. And look, freedom of speech is freedom of speech.
Yeah, you see the Jake in the background. He say he can't resist. They would the least of the flock, man. They shall draw him out to war. And this is exactly the kind of attitude that we're asking for. Keep that same energy. Keep riling up the nations. Keep adding transgression onto transgression. Let them turn it up for the sake of prophecy. And you see all the tension building up around the world and building up and building up. Ooh, it's a beautiful thing that the Lord is doing. So like it for the Lord. But yeah, the tension has been building up. Everyone is unease, clinching to their chair, getting ready to just get up and start throwing punches around.
You see, and for those of you who think that this is a religious conflict, okay, and that because you are Christian, you must necessarily support Israel, please read the Bible again.
And this is why the apostles, especially Apostle Gabal, always talk about these whack-attacking Christians. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know that they're rooting for the devil. And the reason they don't know that is what I always say, is because of the lack of knowledge. You're easily swayed and influenced if you are not learned, if you're not well informed. That's a scammer's number one victim. Someone who's a fucking idiot. Right? The scammer ain't gonna waste his time on an intelligent person, on someone who knows, who to trust and who to not trust, and no. As soon as you call them as soon as you call a scam on their bullshit, they move on. They looking for the idiots, the ones who don't know how to use a computer, the ones who don't know how the system works, the ones who can't read or verify documents, the ones who don't know what a fake bill. All these are the people the scammers are looking for. So these whack-attacking Christians out here thinking that they're supporting God's chosen people, but they're really supporting the synagogue of Satan.
And check your facts. First of all, if you see all the videos of the protests in the United States against the genocide that Israel is committing in Gaza, you find Jewish rabbis in the forefront of the anti-Israel demonstrations. And my brother, that is where I come to you. You claim that this gentleman sitting here, by religion, is a Muslim, is a Shia Muslim, and therefore should not have been on the program, should have brought a Jew. The majority of Jews are opposed to the genocide that Israel is committing. The majority of Jews are leading demonstrations in Western Europe and in the United States of America against what the Zionist regime is doing. So there's no guarantee that if you bring a Jew here, he will say anything different from what any one of us is saying. There's no such guarantee.
Yep. And this is a very good point that he brought up. The number one reason why the Israeli government will do the things that they do is because they claim that they are establishing democracy. That is the song that they like to sing for the people in the West. So that the West will send the sons and daughters, right? The young men, right, into war to fight for these people in the name of democracy, but it turns out it's not even a democratic nation. They do things on a whim, right? They don't care about the will of the people, and they sway leaders to even go against the will of the people in the country that they are soliciting help from. That's why you have the President Donald Trump breaking rules and sneaking behind Congress to drop bombs on Iran for no fucking reason. That's why in order to justify or in order to carry out the plans, they go out and they use a lie for liberation in Venezuela. Well, how can you liberate someone if you on your own, if in your own land you're murdering your own people and then lying about it?
And to believe that the mere presence of a Jew on this panel will change things is to misunderstand the situation in Israel. Okay? So first of all, you have 70% of the Israeli population opposed to war with Palestine. You have the vast majority of Jews in the world opposed to the genocide that Israel is committing, and so on. Now, let us be clear. Let us be clear. Any study of African history and African struggle for liberation and freedom will reveal that Israel has been against us from the very beginning until now. The Israeli intelligence agency was a collaborator of the apartheid intelligence agency in South Africa. In fact, the arrest of Nelson Mandela was coordinated between apartheid intelligence, the US intelligence, and Israeli intelligence. No doubt at all about that. 3 days ago, videos came out of Israelis running into the bomb shelters, and I'm sure that perhaps all of you have seen those videos. Black people who live in Israel, who were also running into the shelters to protect their lives, were prevented from entering the shelters. They were prevented from entering the shelters. So if you're an African, and you want to support what is happening in Israel, something must be wrong with you. 20 years ago, a story emerged of a gentleman, a child actually from Ethiopia, a Falan, what they call them, who had died in Israel. And they could not find a burial place for him because he was black. Jew, he was a Jew, but he was black. They couldn't find a burial place for him. Because he was from Ethiopia. This is a big story which made the headlines all over the world.
And Apostle Torah said it, man. All you Jake out there that are going over there prematurely to claim the land of Israel, you out of your goddamn mind, man. You go over there, and in order to get a citizenship, you have to be in the military. You're fighting for this devil, you know. You're pushing, you're helping, spreading this wicked acts. For what reason? The book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, tells you that that area must be cleansed, and it's the Lord himself that's going to do that, right? Ezekiel 38, verse 21, I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord Yahweh. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. Matter of fact, the best one will be the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, right? But it talks about the destruction, right? I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood. I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him an overflowing rain, talking about the missiles, and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. See, we don't got to do a goddamn thing, man. We don't got to do anything. Just speak the word. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. And that's it. Just preach the word, and then say what's written in the scriptures. Whether it offends, right? Whether it comforts, whatever it is that it does to the souls of men, just speak it in truth and in sincerity and boldly also. And that's all we have to do. We don't have to do anything else. Just traveling around. Nah, man. The Lord has been too merciful. So we really don't have to do all these extra things. I believe the 36th chapter. Let me see. Right. For I will take you from among the heathens and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Right? Then I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. And new heart also will I give you, and a spirit will I put in you. And I will take away the stony heart of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. All right? So it's the Lord that's going to do the gathering. These people out here plotting, these Rothschilds, Rockefellers, doing all these planning, trying to establish an artificial nation and an artificial kingdom of heaven. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. The book of Psalms, the 80th chapter, says that to be planted in the land of Israel, the Lord has to raise his hands and put his hands on the man at his right hand, Yahushai. He has to gather the nations as a hen gathereth her chicks. Okay? And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. And the waste and desolate ruined cities shall become fenced. Now, how do we know that? Is the book of... Oh, let me see something real quick. Right. I'm trying to find a specific verse in here. Right. The book of Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, verse 5, right? Because this is prophetic, It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh. Well, actually, therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate waste, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathens that are round about. Let's read that in different translations. It says, therefore, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of the sovereign Lord. He speaks to the hills and mountains, right? Ravines and valleys, to the ruined waste, to the long deserted cities that have been destroyed and mocked by your surrounding nations. Okay, so he's speaking to a foreign, why did I say foreign? Was it the NLT? I thought it said fallen. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, okay, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. Okay, now Idumea represents Esau, right? It's pretty much wherever Esau has set up his tent. So, you got Amalek, you got Europe, you got the Americas, okay, you got Asia with the Russians, all these people, Turkey, all these people are Edomites. It's referred to as Idumea. And they have appointed my land into their possession because, as you know, the land of Israel was set up by, it was an Edomite council, a council of Edomites that came together. They had a couple of options, and they were like, well, let's just go in there and kick them, Edomites and Ishmaelites out, and let's just set up an artificial kingdom, and let's present it as the kingdom of God. And that's what they did. They have brought it into the possession with despiteful minds, with acts of abominations, okay, pedophilia, a whole bunch of things. Oh, I should have said the PDF file. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathens. Okay, so that's why when you read the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, it talks about the whole of Palestine being dissolved. There has to be a cleansing. It ain't for Amalek, but it also ain't for the other nations that are fighting for it either. None of them belong there. Right? The true possessors of that land are in captivity, scattered throughout the four corners of the world. And the land awaits its rightful owners. The book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestinia art dissolved. Okay? For there shall come from the north a smoke, meaning the north means Russia. Okay, or in other words, the destruction will come from when Russia comes in that land. So the Russians are going to get taken down according to the book of Ezekiel, the 30th chapter, and the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. But in their downfall, the whole land will be dissolved, including the Amaleks, including the land of Israel that's over there. And then the 39th chapter talks about how it's going to be restored, right? How the Lord is going to have all these heathens. Let me see. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renowned the day that I shall be glorified, saith the Lord Yahweh. So there's going to be a national holiday for that. And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land, the heathens, okay, and the people of the land, meaning the actual Israelites, we will sever out men of continual employments passing through the land to bury the passengers, those that remain upon the face of the earth, to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months shall they search, meaning they're going to search for a time. Okay? When they see a man's bones, then shall he set up a sign by it till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hinnom Gog. That's it. So this man out here saying he doesn't condemn it. The irony is that, yeah, he's speaking to his own destruction. He's speaking about himself, because the determination of the Lord is to do exactly what he does not is to do exactly what he does not condemn. So really, he's inviting the wrath of the Lord upon himself, and he's calling it a righteous thing. So with that, I'm gonna end right there. Let me see.
If you're an African and you support this weapon and attack the nuclear facility at Fudan, hospitals and everything, do you know the implications of that? The implications of that is that this country may at a later time not be able to produce electricity. That means the collapse of our industries, the collapse of our educational institutions, the collapse of our hospitals and everything. So what is happening may appear to be between Israel and Iran, but has devastating consequences on us. And in any case, the nuclear scientists tell us that if they manage to find the right weapon and attack the nuclear facility at Fudan, the environmental consequences would affect everybody in the world. Every nation in the world will suffer. So it is not true that we are insulated from what is happening there. The consequences would affect us. And that is why it is important for us to speak loudly and clearly that this nonsense must stop. That no nation is superior. That the sovereignty of one nation...
I'm glad I played that part. Let's see it again.
That no nation is superior. Nonsense must stop. That no nation is superior.
That's right.
That the sovereignty of one nation is not inferior to the sovereignty of another nation, and so on. We must insist upon that. Now, you see, people talk about the right of Israel to exist, and so on. And when you're talking about the right of Israel, what geographical dimension are you talking about? Which country is Israel? Israel is the only country in the world which has no fixed borders. You want to challenge that? The only country in the world which has no fixed borders. Every day, every week, every month, every year, it keeps expanding its borders. You understand? So when you're talking about the state of Israel, what is that geographic entity you are referring to? Because as we speak, the Israelis have a plan to annex part of Gaza and add to their territory, as we speak. And this whole thing that is happening in Ghana is about the annexation of more land. Clear, they've said that clearly, they want more land to expand the state of Israel. You understand? Is this something which we should accept? Look, Israel has killed more journalists than have been killed in any war in history. That's also a fact. That's a fact. They've killed more journalists than have been killed in any war in history. They deliberately attack journalists and kill them. And the impunity. And they do it, they don't even hide. They do it so openly and so on. You see, for those of you who support this Zionist regime and so on, I mean, I can't help but pity you. Last week, did you read the statement which was made by the Israeli ambassador in Ghana? How did you feel when you read that statement? Has no respect for our government. Honorable, he has no respect for your government. He has no respect for your president. The Israeli ambassador to Ghana actually calls the press and tells the press that he's disappointed in the government of Ghana. He's disappointed in the government of Ghana. What is the basis of his disappointment? One, that our government pursues a non-aligned policy. And as far as he, the Israeli ambassador, is concerned, Ghana should not be a non-aligned state. And that Ghana should defy the non-aligned movement. What effrontery? He doesn't end there. This Israeli ambassador says that he knows that Ghana belongs to the African Union. But we should not listen to the African Union. We should break ranks to the African Union. What impunity? What arrogance? And then he goes on and says we should have nothing to do with the Arab League and so on. This nothing Israeli ambassador in Accra wants to dictate to President Mahama how he should run his foreign policy, how he should run his government. He feels emboldened. You know, he's so big, he's bigger than Mahama, he's bigger than the NDC, he's bigger than our parliament and so on. And you want to support this? Unbelievable. And this arrogance finds expression in everything they do. This belief that they are specially chosen by God is the fundamental thing when it comes to Israeli policy. In any case, Sana, let me say something.
Hey man, that's it on that. I don't want to make this video too long, so in closing, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Recha Kodash, Shalom Yahweh, Shemeshah, Brakatham Toy, Akim Sanakos, that are listening in truth and sincerity. May the blessing of blessing be upon the house. And until next time, Shalom.